So the first thing that you're seeing here is actually our blink ability, and we're also going to show the blink impact. We've been doing a lot of particle effect changes, and I'll let Jeff kind of talk about the design behind that.
Yeah, so I don't know, people who may be familiar with Unreal know that Unreal moved a little while ago from Cascade as a particle system
Niagara.
solution to Niagara. And Niagara is a really cool, really smart way of building particles. So we've been kind of transitioning that. Our effects guy, Jim Sanders, who is just amazing at what he does, has been playing with it and trying to integrate it into our pipelines. And we're pretty much set to go there. So all of our new effects will be authored in Niagara. We're also combining that with Houdini. So we're doing some cool stuff there too to get some really neat effects.
And oh, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, just to give people context for this particular skill you're seeing effects for, this is one of the mage's kind of fundamental mobility skills, their teleport option. And just so you guys are aware, the way kind of we work with skills is you have skill points that you can allocate into active skills based off of your base archetype, right? And as you allocate skill points into those skills, you can give additional skill points to unlock, additional features for that skill per se. So the initial active skill of teleport may only teleport you forward. But what you're seeing, I think from this perspective, it looks like he's teleporting backwards. That would be an additional feature that would be unlocked by allocating more skill points, which makes the teleport omnidirectional. So as you're essentially looking within as you're essentially keystroking in a particular direction and you activate the skill, your teleport ability will teleport you, maintaining your direction in that area.
And
yeah, also, if you're wondering about the background here,
yeah, I was just going to
say, this is one of we call this our zoo level, and it's basically got all of the mobs populated here in sections according to level, so that we can jump in really easily and kind of tune things.
Yeah, it's kind of like their dev build area, so they can just do testing and stuff like that. Because people are like, bird person, what's that? And of course, he's clicking on the ability because he's kind of showing you like the, what do you call it?
The tooltip.
The tooltip. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So I'll show the impact of blink as well next. So this is upon.
This is like a closer up view of it, so that's kind of the thing that's playing off of your mesh when you do that. Obviously, this is not a real character, it's just a fake character. And when Jim's setting up his ability, he usually uses these pawns so that it's a really quick iterative process. You don't want to necessarily worry about all the functionality and making it work with a pawn at first when you're first setting up those particle effects. So yeah.
Yeah, and the great thing about Unreal Engine, especially with their newest update to Niagara, is really the front end, the graphical fidelity that Unreal Engine offers is so beautiful. And it's great when you have a very capable and talented artist like Jim who can really take advantage of those systems and just pump out really great looking art. So kudos, Jim.
All right, and then switching over to Gift of Magi.
Yeah, so the Gift of Magi is absolutely. This is a skill I believe that the mage archetype has, which allows the mage essentially to grant a portion of their mana to a friendly character. So you're seeing, here this updated effects for that skill. And
yeah,
one of
part here is sort of the dynamic lighting that is
Yes.
happening on that effect. So that's kind of what he's trying to show off here, and then some of this volumetric fog.
Yeah.
But the way that it lights up kind of the whole area and is not just baked into it.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say one of the directions that I've given Jim with regards to kind of the style of these effects is I'm a huge fan of volumetric fog elements incorporated into special effects for the characters and certain skills, and I really love the way that Jim implemented this. This fog appearance as well as that lighting just to illuminate even further the depth of that gaseous element around I think it's a really cool component of magic and arcane art from an immersion standpoint.
Yeah, he's working on a lot of cool like fog and things of that sort that is really neat. The question that I had that was from chat was actually in regards to graphics and like different settings and what those particle effects will look like. I don't know if you all want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, as we enter into phases of optimization and as we're developing these types of effects, we're taking into consideration that players will have a scalability setting that they can tune, which is appropriate for their rig or hardware that they're running, that kind of lessens the load on the client in order to render these types of effects, or these numbers of polys on the character, or essentially just having scalability options. So one of those in relation to the effects is players can scale that down so it's not as intensive on their rig.
All right, I'm going to switch over to the prismatic beam next.
Oh, yeah. Jeff, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, so this is prismatic beam. This is one of those channeled skills, so it does more damage the longer you hold it down. It kind of roots you into place, but is a really high damage, high risk, high reward kind of ability. The effect here is really neat. Beams are not super easy to do, but the kind of flowy, watery almost feel of this ability, I think Jim captured really well. It feels like a nice, awesome, powerful laser. I guess even better when you see some of the animations that are behind that. You really get a sense of like, oh, this is a very powerful thing. That's kind of, we always feel, and flow is really important to us always. And this really captures kind of that, like, you are channeling some serious magic here. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, did you have something
and you
to
want
add,
to talk a little bit? You want to talk a little bit maybe about the difference between the tab targeting skills that we saw just previously, and how this one works from a line effect standpoint?
Yeah, so we kind of split the difference between the different kinds of abilities that we have. We want to give people a lot of different opportunities to play the game the way they want to. So we have some abilities that are tab targets, some abilities that are dynamic, and then some abilities that are like purely action based. This is kind of falls into that latter category where this beam is going to go wherever you are pointing your camera. So you need to be on target. Otherwise, you can miss. It's not really related to the accuracy of your character's stats. It's more the accuracy of your mouse. So we want to make sure that you get opportunities to kind of, play that risk reward game based on how you want to play the game.
Right. And is this effect an area of effect, or does it stop impact on impact and deals damage to that initial target and doesn't go past it?
Right now, I think it does both. As you scale it up, I think the first stage of it stops at whoever you target, and then the final stage passes through and hits everything in the code.
Nice. So that's more about that, injecting additional skill points into individual skills to unlock additional features for it. So the initial one would stop on a collision impact, and then later stage would go through. That's cool.
Correct.
Yeah.
And obviously, with a lot of testing, we may change and alter abilities. So keep that in mind as we're moving forward, for sure.
Yeah, this is like the first iteration of this ability for the mage, so it's going to go through a lot of different changes.
Yeah. So if we're ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is going to be the level
We're definitely going to go over time, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're definitely going to go over time.
Oh my God, we're only a half hour in. I know.
And we don't even have the Q&A this time. We're still going to go over.
It's a good thing we did an hour and a half AMA.
Yeah, true. So our next one is our level up effect. Now, this is kind of a really important thing with, games, because I think they can be really iconic and memorable. So do note that this is still in stages, so keep that in mind.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so I mean, one of the cool abilities that we all love seeing, and it gives us a major dopamine response, is when our character levels up, especially when you're higher level. This is the first iteration on the level up effects. One of the things I loved, about when I leveled in Lineage 2 was it had this like God ray comes down over your character and expands, and little leaves, like little golden light leaves, fall out of the sky, and it's this cool event. So we wanted to try to hit that a little bit. There's going to be further iterations, but this is the first pass, and I really like the direction Jim's going.
Yeah, I just
one
wanted
thing
to set
Jim does really
expectations.
good is like the radiance effect. Like he uses colors in really interesting ways. And I love what he's able to bring out in some of these effects. They're not just simple unicolor kind of things. There's the full spectrum of the rainbow in this effect.
Yeah.
All right.
We
Are
did
we
talk
ready?
about using Phoenix Wings for this, so.
Oh, Phoenix
I
Wings
think we
would be
had
really
that
cool.
super long ago, actually. I think at one of the PAX events.
Like little wings on the back of you
Yeah.
whenever that'd be cool. But yeah, we still are obviously going through that. There will be sound effects and things of that sort as well that will be hopefully iconic to you all. That is our goal. So when you level up, you're like, yeah. That's awesome. So without further ado, I kind of want to preface things before we move into the next thing, which is going to be our 17-minute long video. We want to talk a little bit about gathering and harvesting, and obviously we'll talk a little bit about it after, and I'll grab some questions from chat, so definitely toss your questions in. We'll also have Ashes of Creation responding to some of the ones that we've already answered before. So I guess, Stephen, if you want to kind of preface this before we
Yeah,
switch over?
just to contextualize the video, when did we record this? Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
God, the days are just they're all blurring together. Okay. Contextualizing this is basically, we wanted to show off two things. One, the very early stages of gathering, and really the way it works, and we're going to go into a little bit more depth afterwards. The gathering is one branch of the artisanship tree. There's three primary branches: gathering, processing, and crafting. And those are meant to have interdependencies within one another. But essentially what we show today is there's tool prerequisites when it comes to accessing certain resources in the world as a gatherable. Gatherers will have the abilities to create their tools, but those tools will have only a certain number of usage before you need to recreate that tool. And essentially, as you become more proficient within the gathering branch of the artisanship tree and your tool making becomes better, you begin to increase the amount of usages that are available. And then those, the usages that are under the tool prerequisite will eventually come to the point where you'll have these master tool sets that'll grant you access to the highest possible gatherables in the world. And one other thing to note about gatherables is there's both a combination of, I guess there's three types of gatherables. There's the ones that a lot of us are used to, which is the single-use resource out in the world. You gather it, it goes away for a period of time, and then it comes back later or randomly spawns elsewhere in the region. The second is going to be these large static veins that exist, which will attract lots of people, and they'll have a finite number of gathering that's possible until that vein is depleted, and then it will will go out and respawn somewhere else in the world. And then the last type of gatherable is a mobile group gatherable kind of thing. So these are like herds of animals that might be out there in the world, and they may move a little bit. So it's like a moving resource, so to speak. Maybe exists on a spline and just kind of goes around the world. You're only going to see in this video the very basic type of gathering mechanic, which is that first type that you can gather. And then additionally, we did receive a lot of questions about the size of the world. And one thing that I personally love about an MMO is having this grand, magnificent type of architecture that exists. So we ran you through one of the dungeons, but I did it with Margaret and Sarah. By the way, this is Margaret, Sarah, myself doing this little video. I did it at flying above the dungeon so that you can just get an understanding of the scope. I know you had seen likely this dungeon in previous 4K video, but it was on foot. So I really wanted to show off, being up in the air and just kind of seeing this grand size dungeon. And this is an early dungeon too. It's a level 10 dungeon.